equipment tied to duct systems that aren't performing, and we're circulating unhealthy air.
Welcome back. Drew Cameron here to talk to us about selling by design, not by default. Let's talk about air quality and airflow.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, David. Appreciate that. And yeah, we're going to be in part 2 here, talking about selling by design, not by default. And by design, we mean, yes, your processes, but we're also talking about your design, your unique and specific and special design that only you and your marketplace offer, right? Nobody else does what you do. Everybody else is focused on, as we talked about in segment 1, everybody else is focused on selling the things. They're focused on selling boxes, brand, model, efficiency, and capacity. Most of them pay no attention to airflow and very little attention to air quality. And I think in our industry, David, I think we got it all backwards. You know, I grew up in the industry and we put together proposals back in the day, and on our proposal, you know, after our logo and the customer's information, the first thing is we're pleased to present our proposal. And the first thing that it was a dissertation of brand, model, efficiency, and capacity, and then 10 pages of how we were going to do the installation. And then after the fact, options were any duct modifications, any air quality, enhancements, things like that. And it took me a long time to realize after the fact that after we sold the business that we're selling equipment tied to duct systems that aren't performing, and we're circulating unhealthy air. Really, what we should do is, number one, make sure that we can circulate the air that we need to circulate so that the system can function and breathe, right? Because you can only exhale what you inhale as a human. Same with your system. Right? So let's get the air flow right. And then let's make sure that the quality of the air that we're circulating is healthy and safe and whatnot. And then we can worry about the comfort and performance and efficiency and things of that. And so the last few years, I've really focused in on dialing in the airflow first, making sure that the duct system can perform. And if it can't, what needs to happen to make it perform for the potential of the advanced technology and high efficiency equipment that we're going to put in, that didn't exist when this duct system was originally designed and installed in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, right? And get the airflow right. And then let's clean it up. Let's clean up the duct system if we're going to reuse it or replace it, and put filtration and purification devices in there to keep it clean and keep the equipment clean and protected, but also keep the humans protected and healthy and safe too, because obviously we all went through a 5-year spin of the last 5 years, I should say, we all went through a spin of the worldwide situation that we experienced. And so let's keep the occupants safe, and then we can put them in a good place as far as being comfortable, right? And so now I focus on airflow and ductwork first, cleaning things up and stopping things from entering the system. And then I worry about the equipment can be plug and play into that system, and it will work the way that it's supposed to work and give the people the experience that they want. And so we go airflow, air quality, air conditioning, meaning temperature.
I'm a true believer in practicing what you preach. And everything you just talked about, I 100% agree with. One of the things that I did recently, actually earlier this year, I contracted with a local HVAC contractor. Since we sold our business back in '99, I've been dependent on what I consider the best contractor in the local market to take care of my house for forever. I have a maintenance agreement with them, continue to have a maintenance agreement with them today. But earlier this year, decided it was time to go ahead and upgrade our systems. Equipment was working. But I knew from day one when I bought this house, and it was 11 years old when I bought it, and we've been living in it for about 12 years now. So it's 23 years, 24 years old now. And it had way too much equipment. So I get this load calculation from this guy, and he's like, do you want to put back what you got, or do you want to put what's right? I said, well, you know me better than that, man. What are you thinking? And he told me, and I was like, okay. I said, well, what do you think if I said, instead of doing that, because he was thinking still, it was zoned by equipment. There were two pieces of equipment on here, a 2-ton and a 3-ton. So I had 5 tons of cooling on this house. And I'm in a southern market, so we always talk about cooling. We don't talk about heating because we don't have to worry about that much. Anyway, so I was 5 tons of cooling, and his load calculation came up like right at around 4 tons. And I said, okay. I said, what if I told you I wanted to put in a 3-zone duct system? I want to yank everything out and start over. I want to redesign this entire thing. And I want to do a 3-zone system. I want to definitely have variable speed air handler. I definitely want to have a high efficiency air cleaner. I definitely want fresh air coming into my system. I want all those things. And I want to answer a question my wife has been puzzled with for the past 11 years. And that is, why are we living in the dustiest home in Columbus, Georgia, when we know how to fix this? I was like, yeah. So, physician, heal thyself. I went ahead and bit the bullet, and I said, we got to pull it all out and start over, because not that the guys that put it in were terrible. They were probably the best residential new construction guys in our market, but with all due respect, they still suck. In terms of sealing system, the duct system wasn't sealed properly, definitely wasn't balanced at all. We made a significant investment in our home. My power bill has dropped dramatically since doing that. And it's quieter in my house. And the dust problem has disappeared. And because of the fresh air, it smells better. We have a dog. Guess what? Dogs have odors. We need to dilute that odor. We need to get that odor out of here, right? So we made the investment that needed to be made. And I designed the system the way I would have designed it had I been Holt Service Company. And they were gracious enough to allow me the pleasure of doing that, because they're also people that I've trained, because a lot of their folks are former employees. So it's like, I would have expected nothing less. And I paid a premium price for it too. I really did. I got an inverter-based system. It's a side discharge type system. It's, it's quiet, it's efficient, it's absolutely fantastic. And the proof is in the pudding. The utility bills came down. I got no dust in the house anymore. I've got the odors are gone. I'm more comfortable. It's quieter. I've got better control because now I got 3 zones instead of 2. And it was worth the investment, Drew.
Oh, I'll bet. It's like when you think about it, our vehicles have a better comfort system in them than our houses do, right? Especially if you get an SUV, right? You can heat and cool the seats, right? You've got temperature settings for the driver and the passenger. You might even have settings for the back portions of the cabin, if you will, as well, right? So the back seats can heat and cool themselves, right? Then there's a zoning for the back, the second bench. And if you have a third bench, it might even be, some zoning for that area too, right? And it's got a better filtration device. And like you said, you can bring fresh air in. And we spend less than 1% of our lives inside of a vehicle, right? Yet, and that system, by the way, might take care of our powder room, right? We go to our house, right? We spend 90% of our time indoors, 60% of that's at home. And we have one big comfort system for one big house with one switch, right? So when we come home, we throw it on for the entire house, much like we throw on every light when we go home. No, we don't. Like we throw on every faucet when we go home. No, we don't, right? So the thing that basically is the health and safety and lungs and comfort, for our house and our people that live there is designed so poorly. And yet as contractors and as homeowners, we haven't come together to assess that and say, listen, we can and should be better. And to your point, right? This is the air. This is the sustenance of life. This is the only thing that all of us can't live without for even 5 minutes. We can live without water. We can live without food. And we're really concerned about the quality and cleanliness of the food and the water that we eat, right? And maybe even organic food too. But we don't worry about the organic, nutritious nature of the air that we all consume and breathe that we can't live without for even 5 minutes. Yet we go ahead and we tie in these mechanical systems, and we hook them up to the existing duct system that was designed in the 60s or 70s or 80s or 90s for technology that didn't exist here in this year, right? And we have high efficiency advanced technology hooked up to a low efficiency, low technology duct system and building envelope, which basically is a recipe for wasting energy more efficiently, as my friend Phil Jeffers used to say from Energy Design Systems before he passed away a few years ago and we took over. So I appreciate the plug. So yes, we have to be better as contractors, right? And we have to help homeowners enjoy a better experience because they've long been suffering unsafe, unhealthy, comfort compromising and energy wasting experiences provided by the existing system. And when you come in, like, your contractor did, your job is to assess what has been, right? And say what can be, and make the customer aware, in this case, you, aware of what's possible to get a new level of safety, health, comfort, energy saving, security, peace of mind, happiness, longevity of the equipment. And it's the equipment alone that won't do it. It's everything else that you talked about. It's the duct system, it's the building envelope, it's the filtration, it's the purification, it's the fresh air intake. Most of that stuff didn't exist with the thing that your contractor inherited. And I think if in this day and age, as contractors, if we embrace air, right, the quality and flow of the air first, before we think about equipment, right, if we embrace the quality and the flow of it, okay, you're going to have people that are going to be, number one, more of them are going to become your customers. More of them are going to spend more money. They're going to become loyal repeat customers. They're going to refer more people to you because you're going to become the provider in the neighborhood who basically, we know most of these houses were built probably by the same builder or experienced the same problems and issues, right? You're going to be the contractor who can solve these problems where no one else could. Everybody's come in and maybe tested the running of the machines, but they didn't look at the original design and what it's delivering. And I know in your previous life, you talked about delivered BTUs, right? And what delivers the BTUs and removes the BTUs? Airflow, right? And then of course we want to make sure that airflow is healthy and safe and nutritious for the occupants, because it is the sustenance of life.
I'm not afraid to recommend a company that I know has the ability to help you know how to do that stuff. So National Comfort Institute is a company that does this type of training all over the place. Drew and I are both big fans of that organization. In fact, the guy we mentioned a minute ago, Dominic Garino, who wrote the article back in the 90s about the whole house as a system, is the founder, one of the co-founders, and he's the president and chairman of National Comfort Institute right now. We typically call it NCI. If you haven't done some of their NCI type training, you need to look into it. It's not inexpensive, but guess what? Quality rarely is. And the reality is that when you understand this stuff, you can differentiate yourself in ways that you haven't even imagined. It also is scary to death sometimes. It's like, oh my God, I think about all these people I put in wrong. That was the first reaction we had with our dad's business. It was, I had a guy that had been with us for 25 years, and we went and we started testing. When we first started testing, he said, let's go test this one we just did, because I know it's going to be awesome. Well, when we tested for leakage, we found out that the duct system that we just put in that he was so proud of, this guy was hired by my grandfather. He was a craftsman in his time. We tested it, and you could drive a truck through the hole, basically, the equivalent leakage area of this thing. And he just started kicking the dirt, and he's like, oh my God. I said, what? He says, all these years I've been thinking I've been doing this right. I said, but the numbers don't lie. And he said, yeah, it's what I'm afraid of. And he said, I'm thinking about all those people, I'm like, well, it just gives us something to do, man. Don't worry about it, Charlie. We're going to get it taken care of. We're going to try to help our existing customers. And, it's an interesting thing, because a lot of people say, well, man, if you start measuring your own stuff and you realize it sucks, isn't that going to put you out of business? Aren't those people going to want it done for free? It's like, well, if you didn't know then what you know now, right, then you couldn't do then what you know now. So if you didn't know, you didn't know.
Yeah, it's just an area of mastery. It's something we haven't mastered, and we learn and evolve. I mean, I couldn't do calculus when I was in grade school, but by the time I got to college, I was doing calculus. Okay, you didn't throw me away as a human being because I didn't know calculus in second grade, right? And so I'm not going to basically, yes, customers will ask. You say, well, new technology, new tools, new education is coming out there. If you think about load calculations, right? They talk about versions of the standard, right? They're on version 8. Does that mean the first 7 were wrong? No, right? We're on Windows 11 operating system. Does that mean the first 10 or 11 versions? Because I think there was one in there that they called XPS and something else, right? But there's probably about 16, 20 versions of the software out there. Who knows, right? But does that mean the first several were bad or wrong? No, they just are no longer useful and no longer serve us. And we have new tools, new technology, new approaches. And I think as contractors, we have to embrace that, because if we don't, there's a day of reckoning coming, David, and it's already happening. You're seeing lawsuits happening out there because people are putting high efficiency, advanced technology equipment on low efficiency, low technology duct systems and building envelopes. And the systems are not performing. The customers are not comfortable. They're not dehumidifying. The utility bills are higher. The systems are noisier, and the lawsuits are happening. And so the day of reckoning is coming. And I don't think I think as contractors, and you mentioned NCI, Comfort Institute, AeroSeal, Building Performance Institute. If we don't become advocates of that now as HVAC contractors, I think we're in for a world of hurt, number one. Number two is we should do it now and be the leaders and get on the front edge of this wave, right? And ride it all the way to the beach.
Drew, appreciate this discussion, man. Another powerful discussion in this series. So we'll see you next time on Cracking the Code.